Hello, thanks for watching my Brain Talk Tuesday. Today we're going to talk about the science behind psychoaromatherapy. This is Danielle Daniel, and I'm a licensed clinical social worker, which is licensed mental health clinician, and a doctor of clinical psychology student. I'm going live here from San Diego, California. So whether you're watching on YouTube or Facebook or my website, hello, and thank you for watching. I wanted to do this subject today because I get a lot of questions about the research behind essential oils. So I've got some notes here, and we're going to dive right in to how essential oils work for the brain. Basically, is this a real science, or is this just some type of intuitive type thing that people do? And I'm going to tell you right now, it is a real science. So my background, like I told you, is my doctorate program and mental health. I have been using essential oils for over 20 years and been in the mental health field for almost 20 years. I did my master's at San Diego State, and I'm doing my doctorate right now at Cal Southern University. So we know that essential oils are very powerful molecules. There are up to hundreds of different chemical compounds within an essential oil itself. So with the essential oils, when we put them around us or in our body, those chemical compounds communicate to our chemistry in the body. Now, majority of our body communicates in chemical messages. So you can see, it makes sense that they would be working. It's the same when we eat healthy foods and nutrients. It gets broken down into these nutrients, which then our cells take it to our whole body, and it communicates in a chemical way. With our body, we humans have two different types of communication systems. We have electrical and chemical via the nervous system and the endocrine system. So essential oils in research shows that obviously they interact at the chemical level as well as the electrical level in the body. So this is just when you break down an essential oil, because it's this little aromatic molecule and it has these compounds in them that interact into the body and actually communicate to the brain and influence the central nervous system, the endocrine system, and the electrical system. So neurotransmitters, if we're talking just about the brain, which there's more to the brain than just neurotransmitters, but neurotransmitters use both. They use the electrical system, and they need the electrical system in order to communicate, and then that chemical message system that they take to the brain to say, hey, we need more serotonin, or hey, we need more GABA neurotransmitters. So let's talk about how the science behind psychoaromatherapy. Essential oils research shows that essential oils influence both methods, electrical and chemical, in the body. And here's how I create the material and the science behind what I'm doing. And again, this is what I want people to understand, that there is an actual science to it. I have a free download on my website that you can get, where I have broken down the neurotransmitters and all of the research the essential oils behind these neurotransmitter communication. So we have dopamine here, and these are some of the neurotransmitters that have all been referenced in research that I have found to influence and help dopamine. So let's talk about how I even get there. So first of all, I study neuroscience. I'm just going to grab my notes here at the doctorate level of clinical psychology. So I have doctorate books. These are my textbooks that I have to do homework out of, or I also have to do research articles that are current on either pubmed.gov or my doctoral research library at my university. So again, I'm looking at doctoral research of the brain and psychiatric, or the psyche, I should say, the psychology behind behavior, emotions, and disorders. So with looking at that science, right, we understand why, certain chemicals are firing or not firing in like an anxious type feeling. So the second thing, let me look at my notes here. So yeah, look at the causes of neural firing, or the abnormal neural firing in the brain that contributes to anxiousness or mood. So the second thing I look at is, because there is not a lot of direct research on essential oils and a disorder, for example, I look at the aromatic articles that are showing what these aromatics are doing in the brain, whether this be on humans or whether it be on what people do in research, which is on rodents. So again, I look at those and I study the research from my information on the brain, and I study my research from the information on aromatic science, and I can put those two together and see how they work at the psychological level. And that's how I connect those two. So this is not just, oh, this sounds good for the brain. It really is. I'm connecting the research. There are some essential oil research on diagnosed patients, okay? There are some, but they are small studies, but they're a great start to opening this field of studying it at a more direct patient and psychological level. So, but let me show you, for example, what I do. So let's look at anxiousness, okay? Anxiousness in the brain at the psychological level is imbalanced when cortisol, which is your stress hormone, right, is released in a high level because you're stressed and anxious. So this cortisol gets released, and it causes a breakdown of the firing of other neurotransmitters. And one of them, or two of them, I should say, in the brain that are faulty with anxiousness is GABA and glutamic acid. So GABA is your primary neurotransmitter inhibitor. Glutamic acid is your excitatory neurotransmitter. So just so you can see that cortisol fires with an anxious or worried or, stressed emotion, right? And then it interrupts GABA and glutamic acid. Just for, simplicity, we're going to just talk about it in that way. So what they're showing, that creates more anxiousness, elevates blood pressure, which you guys, if ever felt stressed and anxious, you can feel your heart pumping. That is an anxious response. Okay, so that's the neuroscience behind anxiousness. When I look at the research on essential oils and how they help, this is what I find. So we have essential oil research showing that it attenuates the effects of cortisol, which means you're stressed, cortisol gets released, and the essential oil, like limonene is one of them. There's actually several that do this, but limonene, which is a chemical compound high in citrus oils. So limonene comes in and just says, hey, knock it off, cortisol. So it basically binds to that cortisol and lessens the effects in the brain. And then limonene also in research is showing that it helps to modulate, which in chemistry and research, modulate means get it at the right level, so kind of modulate the release of GABA and glutamic acid. So again, limonene has been shown in research to do that. So this limonene study was done that I'm specifically referencing. There's quite a few, but one specifically was done on rat brains. And then you can see how that affects. Now, our human brain, obviously, we have some differences, but they interact very similar. And just out of experience, I have used the citrus oils with anxious or stressed out kiddos, and it has been phenomenal changes that I get in my office. I've shared a story before about this high school kid that so angry. He came in, he's a football player, he comes to my office just mad. And I had the citrus blend going. And he's just ranting and raving, cursing, and I'm just like, oh my gosh, this is a big, tall guy. He comes in and he sits down, and my diffuser of the essential oil blend is going. It's a citrus blend, similar to this cheer here. And he smells, as soon as he sits down, he goes, it smells really good in here. And it's like his entire body, it did interrupt, but it's like his entire body just went, that smells good. And it just calmed him. He no longer was cursing, no longer tense, and he was able to talk through what was really upsetting him. Instead of just reacting, he was able to respond healthily. So that is what I have seen. So let's talk about another one with anxiousness. So anxiousness itself, like with lavender, there's two chemical compounds really high in lavender called linalool and linyl acetate. These two in research show, and this is on humans and rats, there's lots of research on lavender. They show that they help to interact with the central nervous system by calming it. So that means calming, like blood pressure, for example. Okay, your heart's pumping, you're anxious, you're stressed, and lavender comes in and just says, hey, chill out, chillax, right? Chemically, it says to chillax. And so this is a great way, lavender and citruses together, a great way to manage anxious emotions. So again, this is where I'm plugging in at the psyche, the research on the psychological level, just on the brain in humans and however else they study it, obviously, and plugging in the information that are done on research. I've got a few, I print a lot of the research articles because I do good when I can print and mark it up. And I get these articles, you can access them. I get them online, some from my doctorate library, but most are pubmed.gov. The best resource I can give you is aromaticscience.com. And this is just purely a hub. So you don't have to search through. PubMed has everything, but this one just is a hub for aromatic science, and then it'll direct you to the outside website where the actual research was done. So that's my favorite, and you can go and look up anything on there and just, kind of get an idea on the research. So this one's called Olfactory Influences on Mood and Autonomic, Endocrine, and Immune Function. So they studied how the olfactory, just from inhalation, influences mood, the autonomic, endocrine, and the immune function. And this specifically was, they tested lemon oil, lavender, and had some great outcomes with the calming, just like what the research I just told you. So you can look up these yourself. Here's another one, a systematic review on the anxiolytic effects of aromatherapy, and this was done on lavender. And then here's another one showing the effects of cortisol. This is more of a just a psychological one. Cortisol, how it affects depression and anxiety. And this is, so that's what I'm doing. I'm marrying the two different types of research together. And where there is research with psychological disorders and essential oils, it's brilliant. Those are awesome, but there's very few. But those are shedding a lot more light for us, which is phenomenal. And I also include that in my references. So how you can, learn more and just get the scientific evidence of it, there's a couple ways. First, I've got the free download on my website, and this is called the 8 Steps to Psychoaromatherapy. It's a really good start. You'll see it on my website. I printed it here, and it shows you the effects of essential oils on the brain, what are essential oils, and then the quality. Okay, so quality is huge. And I'm going to just do a minute here on quality, because just because someone sells a lavender bottle, it doesn't mean it's high in linalool and linyl acetate that actually cause the effects in the body to calm. Does that make sense? So not every lavender is the same. So one reason why I love the essential oils that I use through doTERRA is that they're actually studying which compounds in research cause the medical benefit or just health benefit in the body. And what they do is they say, okay, these are the ones that cause it. Where in the world can we get lavender that has those compounds? They're not looking for the cheapest farm or whatever. They're looking for where those compounds come high. And then they're looking at the best distillation process to purify those from the ground. So lavender, actually, if you want to know, comes from the highest compounds that have the beneficial compounds for us is from France, high altitudes of France, not just anywhere in France, and Bulgaria. So that's really important when you're studying quality and getting the uses or getting the purity that you really need to make a difference. Now, remember, I told you I used oils for over 20 years, and it wasn't until I found doTERRA that I got the amazing changes in my clinical practice, which is why I've switched to just teaching and helping other people implement these into their homes and their practices. Okay, so the second page this download has is, like I said, the neurotransmitters and the oils that have been shown in research. These aren't just ones I made up off the top of my head, but have been shown in research to interact with serotonin, for example. Okay, so this is a great, easy one to download. There's an emotions chart, so you can look at, if you have angry emotions, which essential oils help with that. So this is an emotions chart for you. Some other great references you can purchase, which will be on my website on the shop tab, or you can go to the direct, the links for these are inside that download to the direct website, and these are essential oils and the brain references. This is an emotions card, and this is a reference, and this is just what I've put together from everything I just told you about today, And it has, like, for children, it's got cooperative behavior, positive mood, the different things you can do to help your kiddos with having, you know, stress-free focus, better focus and attention, better memory and learning. And then for adults, I have one, and it's got categories like post-combat wellness and other things like healthy habits, recovery. So things that more pertain to adults is in this one. So these you can also get on the shop tab on my website, or the links will be found directly in this download. You can also learn more through my Psychoaromatherapy training. It's a 4-week training course with different subjects on the brain. And I go into more detail about mood and the research behind mood, and more detail on anxiousness and the research on that. So anyway, thank you everybody for joining me on this little brain talk on the science behind psychoaromatherapy, and would love to stay connected with you. Look forward to it in the future. Thanks, everyone. See you next time. Bye.